Great to be with you. And we'll start out with some news and really stunning news in some ways. Bronny James, who is on the USC basketball roster, suffered a cardiac arrest. Now, the slice of good news is he is now out of the ICU, but you're talking about an 18-year-old. They are saying he is stable. He is out of the ICU. They said yesterday while by practicing, he suffered a cardiac arrest. The medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to the hospital. He is now in stable condition, no longer in the ICU. We ask for respect and privacy for the James family, and we will update the media when there is more information. And they wanted to thank the USC medical and athletic staff for their incredible work and dedication to the safety of their athletes. Wow. I mean, you're talking about 18 years old. How scary is that? How scary is that for the family?
Oh, there's no doubt.
I mean, how scary is that for Andy Enfield? How scary is that for his teammates to see this happen? And it's just, wow. Hopefully he's able to bounce back and they can get him on the right regimen and he can be back out there and doing what he loves as quickly as possible, but only if his health is right.
Yeah, absolutely. You only come around this world once. There's no doubt about it. That's the most important part is his health. And, know, obviously we saw this in January, DeMar Hamlin, within the reaction to, not only, obviously the family first is I can't imagine what family is going through first and foremost. But the other part is, and you touched on it, the teammates. You see your brother. That absolutely, you are bonded without a doubt as a teammate. You see him go down, and that reaction is difficult. I think for a long time. There's no doubt about it. I didn't make it through high school sports. I got through high school sports, and that was it. Stopped there. But when you lost a teammate to injury, it was bad enough. It was difficult enough. When you have to witness this, I can't imagine what the teammates are going through. I think it got to be extremely difficult for them as well. But
I know what it was like for here when Journey Brown could no longer participate. Yeah. It was a devastating blow to his teammates. Devastating. Obviously
difficult.
They felt awful for him. But when you see a peer, what do you mean he can't play? I just watched him run for over 200 yards in the Cotton Bowl. What do you mean he can't play? It was a devastating blow for them emotionally. And obviously, for Journey it was awful. But I mean, quick recovery. And hopefully he can get himself back on track because he has a long life in front of him.
Absolutely. And that's right now, that's the most important thing at hand, without question. Basketball, it is a career, yes. It is a lot of things. It's also a game. Your life is not. That is the most important thing, without question.
So that's the lead right now.
Yeah.
And at least it's down. He is stable and out of the ICU, so that's positive.
Huge. Absolutely.
Now let's get to Saquon Barkley. I was asked earlier today, was I surprised he signed a deal? And I said no. And the reason is if you know him or you've been around him enough, there is no way on the planet. This guy does not have the makeup to sit out. It's just not him. Some guys, I could tell you, have the makeup to sit out and then eventually get themselves back in there. He's not one of those guys. That's why he was talking about, hey, look, I may have to make hard decisions. I'm sitting there going, he will get himself back out there because that's just who he is. That is his makeup. So it's a deal, a one-year deal worth up to $11 million. The deal also includes $2 million signing bonus. The new deal worth $10.1 fully guaranteed. And the deal does not include a no franchise tag clause, meaning the Giants can tag him again next season. Now, I've talked about that before. I do not understand, going back to Le'Veon Bell, why, when the new collective bargaining agreement came up, that one of the issues brought up by the union would have been, hey, look, you can franchise a guy once, not twice. And it stayed in the contract. And I'll never forget sitting here, and Thomas Frank Card, and we were talking about this, and he was co-hosting this show, and he said, the Steelers are morally wrong. I said, the Steelers aren't morally wrong.
They're doing what
I said, it's in the CBA. I said, and his union agreed to it. Well, I thought for sure after the Bell situation that the union would say, hey, look, one of the things we want here in terms of give back, how about 1 year on franchise, not 2? And they didn't do it. And I'm completely perplexed by that.
Yeah, I disagree with it completely. I think, to me, we talk about it really, where these contracts in the NFL, when you look at what the NBA has done for really the past 15 years, those contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah.
The NFL, the biggest thing you are looking for, and there's a reason it's gone up exponentially over the last 10 to 12 years, is guaranteed money. You're not getting a lot of that with the franchise tag. You're getting the highest paid salary of a running back, yes, for 1 year. Yep. You're not getting that lengthy deal with a guaranteed contract that you should be getting. And that's not just running back position. Running backs are, I think, in my opinion, for the most part, are underpaid. Not all of them. But you also look at these other players, they deserve the money they should be getting. Right. And I fully agree. I have no problem with franchising somebody for a year, but when it hits 2 or 3 years, some of them hit 3 years. That's not right. I don't. You
should be allowed to be franchised once.
One time.
In other words, if you're Saquon Barkley, and Jack Ham and I have privately talked about this several times over the years, and we've always said the same thing, that when you are drafted, if you're a certain player, you're actually beholden to them, not for the contract, but for 7 years.
Yeah.
For 7 years.
Absolutely.
And people say, no, he signed a 4-year deal plus the team option. No. Jack and I have both told people, like the 2 franchises, you can go 4 years, team option makes 5, franchise 6, franchise 7. That's 7 years to one team where they control your rights. And that's the situation he has found himself in. Now, am I surprised he signed the deal? No. I'm not, because every fiber of his body wants to play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, he is smart enough as a player to know that the outside noise is not going to get in his ear. And I think that is the one thing that has happened a lot of times with a lot of players in the NFL, and it's come back to haunt them in a big way. Right. Le'Veon Bell being 1. You mentioned him. I think there's no question. If he could do it again, he wouldn't have left Pittsburgh. I'm pretty certain about that.
No, he has said that.
Yeah.
No, he said that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, very certain, and that's how I feel.
Do you follow what's going on out there? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm kidding you.
But no, there's no doubt. He would, like I said, he would have done it again. No doubt about it. I think Antonio Brown, same thing. If he would have done it again, I don't think he would have left Pittsburgh. So there are a lot of times when fame hits you, how do you handle it? Number 1, I don't think they handle it very well a lot of times. And number 2, somebody gets in your ear, you listen to them, you listen to the wrong advice. That's happened time and time again in sports. And Barkley, thankfully, is smart enough that I don't think he is going to do that.
Right.
And I think this is big, too, in terms of, I don't make anything out of that running back Zoom call or whatever it was Monday. I don't
all
make
that was a show of solidarity.
Exactly.
There's nothing that...
Exactly.
I mean, you can't force the hand of the people who are negotiating with you.
No, you absolutely can't. And but I do think this also doesn't necessarily set the bar, but it indicates that I think you need to understand the importance of the running back position. Do running backs have the longevity they once had in the league? No, absolutely not. And part of that is the workload they have that they're getting throughout the years. But the other part is
they get hit a lot more than wide receivers.
There's no question about it. And the other part of it is the importance in terms of the percentage. You talked about how much Barkley accounted for the Giants' offense. The percentage that these running backs account for, you even go back to 2004, 2005. Who was the ultimate weapon on that Eagles team that won 4 straight NFC championships? They went through Brian Westbrook quite a bit.
Right.
And you look now at...
Different game back then.
Completely different game. And you look at, obviously, the 49ers last year getting Christian McCaffrey, completely changed that offense. There's no question about it. A running back is extremely important to their team. And it's time, I think, that gets realized and recognized. I do agree that the 3 guys not getting the deal done, people can look at them as selfish, but I look at it as them getting the short end in a lot of ways because...
I don't think they're selfish.
Not at all. I think there's people who look at it and say, oh, you're sitting out, you're an athlete. You know what? Running backs deserve a lot more credit than they get, and it's a good thing that the 3 of these guys did have that solidarity. It's a good thing Barkley's getting his contract. Now, next up is Jacobs and Pollard. Because Jacobs has meant more to the Raiders than anybody else on that roster, and that includes Devontae Adams.
Yeah, but he's not the all-around player Barkley is.
No, not even close.
Okay, and to be honest with you, Pollard's not the all-around player.
He's
Barkley
not,
is.
but he makes the Cowboys
I'm not saying
better.
those guys don't make them better, but they are not the caliber of all-around player that Barkley is.
Very few are. Very few are. I think when you talked about McCaffrey, I think he's on that list. There's no doubt about it because of his ability to get out of the backfield as a receiver, and that's, I think, where Barkley's great. The other part of it's the blocking. You're picking up those blitzes, which is what made a lot of these running backs incredible. And I remember, to me, 2 running backs that I think could have been, well, one's in the Hall of Fame anyway, but 2 that could have been all-time greats met in the Super Bowl back in 1999, and that was Terrell Davis and Jamal Anderson. I thought Terrell Davis obviously was incredible. He's a Hall of Famer, and could have been even better.
Short,
yeah.
Okay, short football life.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's what almost cost him being in the Hall of Fame. He did not play very long.
And Jamal Anderson even shorter. He had tore his ACL twice, and I think you were kind of robbed of what you could have seen with him because he was one of the absolute best running backs that I saw after first hit.
Yep.
You could not bring that guy down. He was just that good. Unfortunately, the torn ACLs came back to haunt him. But these guys, they are complete packages. You can catch the ball out of the backfield, can pick up the blitz. Those are 2 things I think that are very, very underrated in this game and very important, especially.
Meanwhile, Patrice Bergeron is retired, the captain of the Boston Bruins, 38, second-round pick in 2003, and 3rd all-time in the history of the Bruins in both points and games played behind Ray Bourque and Johnny Busick. Won the Selke Trophy as the top defensive forward 6 times in his career, including this past season. In fact, the last 2 years he's won it, but he's got a disc problem in his back, and they said rest, and he's like, you know what, I'm 38, and I really can't do this. So one of the top defensive forwards, defensive centermen, one of the top face-off guys, and great vision on the ice. He and Marchand work so well together. He has announced that he's going to retire. Interesting article today from The Athletic. Mbappe is what, either has he already signed it, or I don't know if he signed it or not, but it's a gigantic contract from Saudi Arabia. He currently plays in the French league. The reported offer is $776 million over 1 year. And the transfer fee would make the deal clear $1 billion for Mbappe. So now, after seeing tweets from Giannis Antetokounmpo and LeBron James, people are now starting to ask, could the Saudis now start offering money to NBA stars? And what the Saudis offer, let's face it, is staggering cash.
Yeah.
Okay? And when the Mbappe contract was leaked yesterday, all the NBA guys were tweeting left and right. It's not as if basketball doesn't have a global presence.
Oh, no, there's no doubt.
Now, not to the point of soccer.
No, but they do.
Now, so far, Giannis has made $147 million.
Yep.
Okay. Lillard's made about $193. LeBron is pushing $500 million in his NBA career.
In his NBA career, not to mention his net worth entirely. He's doing okay for himself.
But because it's basketball, could you start seeing the Saudis then starting to do something like that, forming their own Saudi basketball league? It's speculation. We don't usually do speculation. But it was an interesting article. And these days, you don't count out anything. I mean, did I ever think Brooks Koepka would be playing in 54-hole tournaments? No. Did I think Mbappe would be there? Did I think Messi would be playing in this country? But Ronaldo is in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
They're going to pay Mbappe? Wow. And I'll never forget the line that Brandel Chambly had on Golf Channel and Brandel has been anti-live the entire time, but when the merger came up, he said he decided to ask Siri, how deep are the Saudi oil reserves? And the answer came back 221 years. So, over here in the back, your ability to outlast them financially? No.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
You could have billions of electric cars on the road in the United States. Everybody else is using oil. Okay? So, just so you know. Okay? Oh, we're doing our part. You're doing your part. Hey, guys, the people over in India and China, they're not doing their part. Okay, so you can feel in your own corner of the world. Look, we recycled. It's like that's good for you. But yeah, how about that? 221 years. I mean, I'm just saying they have the ability. Financially, it appears to affect any worldwide sport.
There's no doubt.
Now, the Saudis are not going to invest in hockey players.
No.
They're not going to invest in football players. I'm talking about American football players. They're probably not going to invest in baseball players. But soccer and basketball and golf.
Well, yep.
Soccer, basketball, golf. Remember, already you had players going over every year to play in Dubai, and there's more golf courses in that part of the world, and they invested all this money in that. Now there's soccer, and they've invested a ton. Ronaldo's there. Now they're on the verge of getting Mbappe. Right? So what's the other worldwide sport? It appears to be basketball. On this, by the way, the 31st anniversary of the opening of the Barcelona Olympics, when the Dream Team turned basketball into the world game.
I'll never see a better team. I'm confident to say I'll never see a better team.
But they turned basketball into the world game.
They really did.
At those Olympics.
Yeah, they sure did. And that's if anybody that was around for that team, man, that was just an incredible memory. But that's you touched on it really with what Saudi Arabia loves to do, and that is the global presence. And we occasionally give Vince McMahon a hard time on here, and rightfully so.
He speaks highly of you.
Well, he might, but he didn't. He probably would have fired me 4 times over. But
you wouldn't be the first.
Exactly. I don't know if he's fired more people or faced more lawsuits. I'm not sure. The one thing that the WWF and now WWE did so well was that global presence. They did it for many years. Yeah, they did it they were ahead of the game into the early 90s. Saudi Arabia was one of the first to try to purchase the WWE this year. Obviously, they failed and did not succeed. But, they look at the global presence. And, speaking of Damian Lillard, he is going to get, I'm pretty confident, another major contract because Jaylen Brown is now the highest paid player in the NBA. 5 years, $304 million.
Yeah, 5 years, 304. So it's almost $61 million a year when it's all said and done.
He's going to have to play better in Game 7.
Oh, yeah. No, they all do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about
But the next part for them is going to be signing Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want to keep that young core together? Do you believe they can win a championship? I think is going to be the question they're going to have to ask themselves, too. I mean, Tatum is
this goes
one of the top 5 to 10 in the league. I don't think there's any question.
This goes back to the Shohei Ohtani debate. And I don't even get why there's a debate.
No, there's no debate.
When I have a generational player, are my odds better of winning with the generational player or without him?
Yep.
Now, I know they haven't been winning with him, but it's not his fault. Right? But here's a guy that... Okay, let me start with, before I get to Tatum, the Babe Ruth comparison. Babe Ruth, when he was with the Red Sox, especially the first few years he was there, was a pitcher and occasionally played in the field. Okay. Won 20 games a couple of times, pitched them to 2 World Series championships in 15 and 18. All right. There was one point for 32 years where Babe Ruth held the World Series record for most career home runs at 15 and held the World Series record for the most consecutive scoreless innings pitched with 29 2/3. Right? One guy. But when he went to the Yankees, he started doubling up a bit with the Red Sox for a couple of years, right? And especially in 19 and 20. And started to do a little bit of it in 18. But when he went to the Yankees, you know how many times he pitched for the Yankees? From 21 to 1935, because of 1934.
34, yep.
Right? 35 he was with the Boston Braves. From 1921 to 1934, those 14 seasons with the Yankees, you know how many times he pitched?
Not sure he did.
5 times.
5 times?
5 times. That's it. Right? That's where the comparison ends. With the Red Sox, he was doubling up. Right? And had success at both. But Ohtani is out there taking the ball 25 to 30 starts a season to go with his hitting ability. So that's where the comparison ends because people, it takes no offense. There are a lot of people who throw out opinions about, well, he's not Babe Ruth. Okay, number one, I never saw Babe Ruth play.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't...
Contrary to popular belief, I did not watch Babe Ruth.
Never saw... I've seen highlights. I've seen the movie The Babe, if that counts, but that's about it.
But it takes 35 seconds to look up his career numbers.
Yeah.
To say, he only made 5 starts with the Yankees. In other words, he made 5 starts total his last 15 years because, or 14 and a half because he then retired with the Braves.
Yeah.
And this guy's out there doing it all the time. On a 26-man roster, he's worth 2 roster spots.
Yeah.
What are you going to get in return for him?
Yeah,
we want as many top 100 prospects as like, get out of here, right? I'm sorry. There's a team 135 miles down the road from here that leads the league in acquiring prospects.
Yeah.
Right? I can tell you flat out, it doesn't work.
I agree.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to be able to draft right, which they did, by the way, with McCutcheon and some of the other people, because that great run from 13 to 15, they did a great job of building around a core group that they drafted. But it doesn't work.
No.
Right? Prospect is a fancy way of saying you've never done it before. I've got a guy, pay him. Just pay him.
Yep.
Okay? You paid Trout, you pay this guy.
Absolutely.
Then you figure out how to build around. There's no salary cap in baseball. There's a luxury tax.
Yeah,
but there's
which
no
you
salary
can pay
cap
if you put butts in seats. That
Right.
doesn't matter. I see that to me. I think it's almost frustrating at times with some of these teams' refusal to pay the luxury tax because you will get it back.
Well, George Steinbrenner, this is what bothered him about it. Okay, and he has a legitimate point. You know what really bothered him about it? Not the fact that he had to pay it.
That he had to share it with people that weren't spending money?
Yep. It bothered him that the Royals, the Pirates, the A's, and some of the others, they got the money, kept it.
Shared it. Yep, absolutely.
Kept it.
Yeah.
Okay? Steinbrenner's point was that money in the luxury tax that goes to these teams that are the takers, it's supposed to go to salaries to get for players.
And it doesn't.
You're not supposed to keep it. Right? And all these teams, oh, no, we'll keep it. And they didn't do anything with it. That's what always bothered them about it. So now we go back full circle to Jason Tatum. Do they have enough to win it? Well, all I know is that their odds of winning it are exponentially better with Tatum and Brown together than it is only having one of them.
Yes. Agreed.
And that's why you go out and you do it. Look, you're about to get a gigantic bump from your TV contract. Hey, right now you're getting $2.6 billion, 1.4 from ESPN, 1.2 from Turner. Okay. They would like to triple that. Now, what does tripling that mean? Well, tripling that means that you're getting up to $8 billion a year. Will they get $8 billion? No, but I'll bet they get between $6 and $7 billion a year.
Yeah.
Which is better than 2.5 times what they're getting now. And if you got that kind of revenue coming in on a roster that has, I think you're allowed 18 players now because you get three two-ways.
You get three
two-ways. So 18. Okay, that's exponentially more money you can spread out and a higher cap number for everybody. Okay, because of that, you can afford Jason Tatum.
Absolutely.
Right, and you can afford to put him with Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And that's how they have to look at it. Am I a better team if I don't have one of those two guys?
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius to say no. Just like, are the Angels going to be better if they trade Shohei Ohtani? No. They are not going to be better if they trade Shohei Ohtani. So you don't trade them.
No.
Right? And that's why I know people have to write stories because they've got to crank out stories and it's got to get clicks and so forth. But I wonder sometimes about the lack of common sense, not from the writer, because they've got to come up with something. I mean,
sure.
I understand that. Right? So I do respect that part of it. But people are like, oh, they'd be way better off without me. Excuse me, really? You're going to be better off without the guy. Over the years, give me an example who was better off without the guy.
Didn't happen often.
Right? Can you give me 10 examples where the team was better off when they got rid of the star? Have the Red Sox been better since they got rid of Mookie Betts?
Nope.
No. That's just an example.
Nationals been better since they got rid of Soto, who's struggling mightily in San Diego, but have they been better? No.
No, of course not.
No, absolutely not. And the only difference you have with the NBA, there is that chance, and it doesn't happen often, there is that chance you can get fair value in return if you trade him. You can get that superstar player in return that you don't necessarily get in Major League Baseball, but it doesn't happen often. It's still where that's the difference. The NBA, you still have to match that salary, and it gets that tough.
Were the Magic better after they got rid of Shaquille O'Neal?
No.
Were the Bucks better after they got rid of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Nope.
Were the Sixers better when they got rid of Will Chamberlain?
No. Were the Sixers better when they got rid of Barkley?
Okay. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Were the Bulls better when Michael Jordan played baseball for a year and a half?
No.
Right? Come on.
No.
I mean, after a while, common sense sets in. There's a reason why they're transcended generational players.
Absolutely.
And why you say, okay, let's figure out a way to build around this guy. Same thing with Tatum and Brown. You build around them.
Yeah.
And that's why they got Kristaps Porzingis. They gave them a different type of player to go with these two guys. And it's why the Sixers can't find that combination.
No.
But you do everything you can to keep Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I think you have to, absolutely. The problem they have right now, and look, I had no problem with him saying what he said. I really did not whatsoever. And
I don't.
Because
the guy wants to win.
Yeah, the guy wants to win, and they have wasted his prime. Yeah, whether it's by lack of effort or not, which I think they've tried. Yeah, you're right. They've tried to give him a combination. They've not given him a successful one.
Well, tried to a point.
Yeah.
I did not agree with drafting Ben Simmons first. I did not.
No.
I did not.
And there were red flags in the NBA. There were red flags going into that draft.
I watched
on Ben
him at
Simmons.
LSU, and I said, I don't get it.
Well, not only that,
but they wasted those other high picks over there. Markelle Fultz.
Yeah, you could have Jason Tatum. You traded the number one pick.
The Celtics
you acquired the number one pick.
Danny Ainge was so confident that they would draft Fultz. He made the deal. Because remember, the Celtics had the first pick.
Yeah.
They fell back to 3. He still got Tatum. He still got the guy he wanted.
Yeah.
Which I remember on this show. What did I say in the show when the Celtics had the first pick? Who did I say they should take?
Yeah.
Well, who did I say?
Yeah, it was Tatum.
Yeah. I said they should take Tatum because I watched Fultz. I'm like going, I don't get it.
No, and that's
no. I said I watched him a couple times. I don't get it. Tatum, I watched. I get it.
Yeah, Fultz struggled with his shot in college, and as good of a player as he was, he struggled with his shot. And when you struggle with your shot in basketball, that's a problem.
Right.
But the other part with Ben Simmons, look, I'm not always saying this entirely about academics, but a lot of times, I'd say more often than not, when somebody's academics are poor in college, part of that is due to the effort. And you have to look at that when you're drafting somebody. Am I going to get a guy that's going to give me 110% every night? You didn't get that with Ben Simmons. Just like, you go back to Ohio State football. As good as Andy Katzenmoyer was, the guy flunked every class he took, aside from maybe golf. And that's the kind of stuff where, okay, I'm looking at this guy. Is it an issue where they're trying and just not succeeding, or is it an issue of effort where they're not trying hard enough? And I think it's the latter when it came to both of them.
Right, exactly. You got to look at everything. But I watched this game. I was like, I remember watching Simmons. I don't get it.
No. And it was a guy who couldn't shoot.
I'm talking about at LSU.
No, it was a guy who couldn't shoot a 3.
I'm like, that guy's the first overall pick in the draft. And LSU finished under 500.
Yeah. And we're in a league now in the NBA where you've got to, at that size, at 6'9", you've got to be the complete player. You've got to be able to shoot, not only shoot free throws, obviously, which he can't do.
All right.
Fast food joints canceled their promotions when he left the Sixers because they knew they'd go bankrupt when he came back. And but the other part of it is they need more. The NBA was spoiled for years to have the Kobe Bryants and even the Tracy McGrady's of the world where you're 6'9" and you could do everything. Yeah, you could shoot that 3, you could rebound, you could shoot free throws. That wasn't Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons could rebound, I'll give him that. He was not a guy that could finish at the hoop. He was afraid to finish at the hoop. He showed that in the playoffs, and he was a guy that really couldn't shoot a free throw. There's no question. Couldn't attempt a 3 for how many years?
Yep.
You can't have that when you are that size. No way. Not at 6'9" or 6'10". 7'1", maybe. 6'9", 6'10", no.
By the way, on the show tomorrow, Phil Steele, Neil Coulon on the show tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
And the ACC Media Days, taking place today. The Big Ten takes center stage tomorrow. Jim Phillips, as I mentioned yesterday, he will be asked about the Northwestern situation. It'll be interesting to see when he has his press conference whether he defers because of legal action or whether he vehemently denies it again like he did in his statement last week. Taking questions on it, he won't take any questions on it.
No.
Any lawyer would tell him not to do that. I mean, I know I've had to deal with your legal team, Dewey, Cheatham, and House several times.
They never fail me. They win every time. They have been phenomenal.
And that's why you're the highest paid person here.
They do not fail me. They've come through so many times. Even whether or not they're supposed to or not, they still come through. It might be because I give them a cut, but they still come through.
But he's not going to answer any of those questions. But he may make a statement. But he's also going to be asked about the TV deal. They did have a new deal with the CW, which I think gives them a little bit more money, but not much.
It's an interesting deal, too.
Well, no, this is the deal.
Yep.
If you recall, WHVL, for many years, here at State College, had the ACC Game of the Week and ACC college basketball.
Yep.
That's this package. Okay? That package is the one that they went to the CW. So they're going to pull it off syndicated stations, and they're going to put it on the CW. So that's what that package is. It's not a game changer.
No, it's not
for them in any way, shape, or form.
And it's a spot where I think most cable operators that have even the basic package has it. So I think you have the option to see it. And I don't think you're going to find it first and foremost on your TV, but I think it's a spot where you can at least, you're not paying extra to watch it.
Exactly. So the challenge that he has is to explain where they can find more revenue.
Yeah.
Now, they'll find a little bit more revenue when it comes to the college football playoff expansion. Everybody's going to get more out of that. But, they were talking about getting, for the teams that make the playoff, getting a higher cut. And maybe even the same for the NCAA basketball tournament. And there was some speculation that it might extend to other sports. Where? What other sports? I mean, no offense.
It's true.
Okay? The College World Series and the College Softball World Series are all in that same blanket package.
Right.
That includes wrestling, men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, right, and women's basketball. Now, they're talking about separating out some of these, women's basketball being the primary one. Well, women's basketball will probably be able to be separated out. I'm not so sure you can separate everything else out. I just don't think you can do it.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think there are as many bidders for it, the rest of it, as people realize. Everybody loves their particular sport.
Right.
Right? There are people that love men's lacrosse. There are people that love field hockey. There are people that love wrestling. We all know the passion we see here. They love wrestling. Right? As much as wrestling is loved here in this state, how much do you think it's loved in Louisiana?
Yeah.
Right? How much do you think it's loved in, Wyoming?
Yeah.
Colorado? Right? Okay, their schools don't have wrestling.
No.
Right? And there's, when you have, 76? There are 363 schools that are Division I in basketball. Yep. I think 76 are
something.
Right? It's just like ice hockey. Hey, we love ice hockey. Well, you want to separate the ice hockey thing? Well, guess what? Okay, collegiate ice hockey is how popular is that in Oklahoma and Texas?
Right.
Right? And when I talk about wrestling, there's only one SEC school that has wrestling. Missouri.
Yep.
And they're in the Big 12 now for wrestling after being in the MAC.
Yeah.
Right? But there are no other SEC schools that have wrestling. Okay? Now, Oklahoma will make it too, right?
Yes.
Oklahoma has wrestling, right?
Yes.
All right? Texas does not.
No.
All right? And this is the same across the board. That's why this blanket coverage of it, where it all falls under one umbrella, that's allowed these sports to get the exposure that they need and gain some level of popularity. But does it translate into bidding? And that's right. So in other words, look at the Pac-12 as a football entity, as a football conference. How much are they struggling for football to get a TV contract? Sure. They are struggling mightily to get a football contract. You think the College World Series? Oh no, it's not going to be the bidding you think it is.
No.
When football is struggling to get a bid for the Pac-12, what does that tell you about everybody else? And again, you have to check your personal love of something at the door, and look at it from a common sense point of view.
Love and allegiance both. You talked about what school. I think that's the other part of it too.
I have no issue with somebody's passion for it, their love of it, or anything else. But when it comes now to the business side of it,
absolutely,
right? All that has to be checked into the door because all they're looking is how many eyeballs can I get, and is it worth it to me to pay this number, right? And that's always the central question. Hey, they've had record ratings this year. Well, record ratings doesn't equal what?
Not at all.
That's great record ratings, and it shows more popularity, but does it equal dollars?
Yeah, and the other part of it is understanding why those record ratings are there and could they consistently be there is the other question.
Well, I give them credit for the record ratings.
I give them a lot of credit,
but the college
can they sustain it?
The college softball and baseball World Series each had record ratings.
Yeah.
Women's basketball tournament did have record ratings.
Yep.
Okay. Now, but are they going to have record ratings 5 years from now when there's no Caitlin Clark?
Exactly. That's exactly my point. What is the reason they have record ratings? That reason's going to be in the WNBA next year. What is the reason why softball had record ratings? That team is eventually going to lose.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, and you know what? There's that. Those are the reasons why you have to look at it from a business perspective and say, hey, is this going to be longevity? Is this going to sustain this? I don't think so.
It's all business.
Yeah, absolutely, okay? And it certainly is.
Business doesn't care about pockets of passion.
Right.
Okay? Business deals with widespread where you can get the casual fan involved. Why is the NFL so popular?
Yeah.
Because the casual fan loves it.
Gets the casual fan, knows incredibly how to market it. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Fantasy better than football, Madden, things like that. Yeah, over and over again.
And that's, I think, you give big reason why I've always given David Stern credit. I think he marketed the NBA
he did.
as good as anybody marketed a sport as a commissioner.
Yep.
And that's a big reason why the NBA is in the spot it's in right now. And that's what you're investing in when you're somebody that is looking at purchasing this for a contract in some way. That do I, long term, am I able to sustain this? And I think that answer is an easy yes when it comes to the NFL and the NBA.
Well,
not so much when you're getting into those other sports.
Hey, why did ESPN go all in on the SEC? Because they think that's their avenue. Now, this year is going to be interesting for ESPN.
It is.
Because they need more inventory to make up for no Big Ten games being on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
and you're still splitting the SEC with the CBS, too.
So this could benefit the Big 12 and the ACC.
Yep.
In this particular year. Next year, it won't benefit either one of them. It's going to be all SEC all the time.
Yep.
All the way through. But this is a year they can take advantage of it in the ACC and the Big 12.
Sure.
Because all that Big Ten inventory is gone. But when you're sitting there as a TV network, and I want to get as much live sports as possible, what are my priorities? Well, right now I'm sitting there, and if I'm at ESPN, my number one priority, considering how everything else has been settled, I have the NHL. I have the NFL. I have the Major League Baseball contract I want. I have the SEC. I have other college football contracts and college basketball contracts. Okay. What's the big one I need now?
Yeah.
I need the NBA.
Absolutely.
Right? Why am I saving up my money? Because I need to bid. I need to have the NBA. See, there's a big difference between I need to have and it's nice to have.
Absolutely.
Okay? I need to have the NBA. And with all due respect, the women's basketball tournament is nice to have. Now they're going to get a deal.
And other networks are thinking that same thing. They're absolutely thinking that exact same thing.
That it's nice to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
and that's why you're not going to have extensive competition.
Right.
With that, you don't have to go all in and give a major bid on it because those other contracts are going after that same part you are.
Right. And MLS. Okay? MLS, which had been split between Fox and ESPN. Well, they went to Apple.
Yep.
Well, that's because you had networks looking around saying, I didn't need to have it. It's nice to have it.
No.
Right?
No.
It's nice to, okay? Nice to have doesn't generate heavy bids.
Right.
right? And that's where you sit down, and ESPN just laid off all these people. And it was all part of the Disney structure where they laid off 7,000 people. I understand that. But they still had to lay people off, including some long-time people. Mike Soltis was with them for 43 years, for example. But they're paring back staff, and they've been careful about bids because they know they need to keep. The NBA is going to be the contract that keeps these other sports that people are talking about. Well, we deserve more. Well, okay, I'm with you. People are watching you. I got it. But the NBA contract is an absolute must-have. You're in the nice-to-have category, right? And nice-to-have doesn't generate bids. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, oh, well, hey, we tried.
Exactly. And from a basketball perspective, from an NBA perspective, the biggest thing they are able to do that is so good is targeting that audience that is trying to pull the plug on cable, and that's the young audience.
Yes.
You're bringing in that young audience with the NBA that you don't do with a lot of those other sports or other organizations. You are bringing in that young audience that you are struggling to keep in a lot of ways in a lot of other sports, and that includes baseball. You're not necessarily keeping that young audience's attention span when it comes to baseball.
You notice with Major League Baseball, what did ESPN do?
Yeah.
They pared back the number of games that they did, less money. That's why the Apple contract exists on Friday night.
Yeah.
Gee, that's the exact same number ESPN was paying for the additional games. They had to make up for it. That's why Apple got Friday night games.
Yeah.
But ESPN pared that back.
Yeah.
All right. NBC, people talk about them bidding for the NBA. Well, they know, notice how they went after the Big Ten after they stopped carrying the NHL.
Stopped carrying the NHL? Yeah, sure.
Okay, that was $100 million a year. $100 million a year for the NHL. And they didn't carry it any longer. And that's what you're getting left and right here.
Yep. And NBC also is the very best of the big networks at learning, number one, where you went wrong, I think, with where they went wrong with the NFL previously, where they went wrong with the NBA previously, but also watching and learning what these other big networks are doing and looking at, hey, we could do that. We can have in the winter or in January, Saturday night NBA, Sunday night NBA.
Sure they can.
We could easily do that and draw in an attractive audience because, look, ABC did it and it worked. Now you know that. You can look at it and say, hey, Sunday at 4 p.m. doesn't have to be our marquee game. We can put that primetime audience in there, and they have them obviously have the resources to do it. They have the networks to do it. They don't have NBC Sports Network so much anymore. Well, you have Peacock, though, and the other part of it is now you have the ability to, okay, we could showcase this by doing this.
Well, if you're the NBA, this is why you're sitting pretty. Everyone always wondered if you didn't have LeBron in the finals, how would you do? Everyone always wondered if you didn't have Boston, New York, or Los Angeles, the Lakers, not necessarily the Clippers, but the Lakers in it, how would you do? You finally got one where my argument has always been, hey, if the NBA is doing really well, Utah against Atlanta in the finals would be a strong draw. Well, this time you had Denver and Miami. And guess what you had? A strong draw.
A decent draw, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, the ratings were better than the Warriors Celtics. Okay? It was really, really good.
And the other part that you had was the international part of it, which is so important. Right. You had the global part of it with Jokic.
So you are trying to throw not all of your eggs, but the vast majority of your eggs into that basket.
Absolutely.
Right? ESPN probably would not go after the Notre Dame contract. But there are three primary contracts out there. The behemoth, the NBA. Then after that, probably Notre Dame. Then after that, the Pac-12. And then everybody else. As much as everybody is screaming about my group needs to have its own contract, right? They're sitting in Bristol and and in Beverly Hills, where Fox is, right? And in New York, and they're looking around going, oh, yeah, we'll get to that later in the meeting. I got to have this one here, right? Well, you're not in the got to have category, okay? The behemoth is in the got to have category. And it's the only behemoth that's not settled yet. Just like when I talk about realignment, there's only one behemoth left. That's Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
It is
Absolutely.
not. It is not Oregon. It is not Washington. It is not Clemson. It is not Florida State. It
Not
is
a
Notre
chance.
Dame. Those are all secondary brands to Notre Dame. And I'm talking about brands now.
Sure.
College football is not just about markets. It is about brands.
So you got to brand it. There's no question.
Right? And brands mean everything in college sports, because you're telling me Penn State University in State College, Pennsylvania, which has a metro area of what? 170,000?
Not many. Yep.
Is a nationwide brand? You're darn right it is. Just like USC's in Los Angeles. Well, guess what? Indiana basketball's in Bloomington.
Yep.
Well, okay. Kentucky basketball is in Lexington.
Yep.
And Alabama, there are no pro teams in that state. Zero. Other than minor league baseball, minor league hockey. I'm talking about like major league pro teams. You're talking about Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
Yep.
It's about brands. There are primary brands. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, USC. There are secondary brands.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I don't want to be labeled a secondary brand. Secondary brand's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why, like Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan State, UCLA,
Nebraska.
Iowa, Nebraska. Nebraska will tell you they're a primary brand. They aren't.
Not anymore.
They're a secondary brand. They're
Primary fan base, but not a brand.
great, awesome fan base, but as a brand, no.
No.
All right. Texas may have fallen way back, but Texas is a powerful
Texas is
brand.
always going to be. Yeah, no, they're always going to be a powerful brand.
Alabama's a powerful brand. Georgia's a powerful brand. You keep going through it. But Florida State and Clemson are secondary brands.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I agree.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And everybody's, well, you get them and all. Please, just settle down.
Yeah. I remember on this show calling Clemson overrated, and they got thumped the following week in the playoff. Yeah, and part of that is because you don't have that established brand, and that was the problem for many, many years when it came to Florida State. Miami got into the ACC. That ACC wasn't so easy anymore for Florida State.
They've never won the
No,
ACC.
they've never.
Miami has never won it.
No, they've never won it, and that's why. And Florida State's won it once since Miami's gotten there twice. It's that three times. But still, it gets a lot tougher when you have that competition that you don't have previously. You kind of were the one-man show, and that's not enough for me to show that you're a primary brand. And that's in 1992, 1993, Florida State was a primary brand.
No
I would
doubt.
agree with that.
So was Miami.
So was Miami. And I think you could even argue 94, 95, 96, Nebraska was. Not anymore.
No question.
Not anymore.
Right, but now things have changed.
Big time.
Things have changed. I don't blame the Clemsons and the Florida States for wanting to get out of their current lot in life.
Absolutely.
I don't blame Oregon and Washington for wanting to get out of their current lot in life. But it is what it is. And I know what the TV ratings say, but it's become obvious over time there's one behemoth left, the one big chip in the game. There are other chips in the game. And you always bet small anyway, so you know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. God, you're cheap.
I'm at the penny machine every time.
Right.
And I still lose more.
Right. But there's only one big chip left in the game,
sure
and that's
is.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And their TV contract is up, and I'm sure they're going to do everything they can to get themselves the best deal. Now, where they are 5 years from now, when more deals come up, all right, we'll see. But the only contract right now that everybody is like absorbed in meeting rooms for networks is the NBA contract. The other ones have been settled. Notre Dame, they have a primary negotiating agreement and an open window with NBC first. So you're not sitting there saying, hey, look, what can we do? You can think about it. The Pac-12 doesn't have a deal. They don't have a deal yet. Now, they claim they're getting closer. I think that they have patented, or I think they've copyrighted the word soon, because that's the word that's been used a lot in the Pac-12. And as for the ACC schools, since it's their media day, Here's the bottom line. The bottom line for them is you signed it. You can't get out of it.
No, I agree.
Now, you can go to court and challenge it.
Yeah. And maybe we can look at it and say, hey, what'd you sign?
Right? Hey, hold up and say, is this your university president's signature here? All right.
Did you read the fine print? He didn't. That's all right. He still signed it.
Okay. It's only 5 to 8 pages. It's not extensive.
No.
This is not one of those we need our lawyers to pour over the document.
Pages. Yeah.
Right? Where are the loopholes? Where's the where are the clauses? I mean, I read them.
Yeah.
I read it because it doesn't take long to read. That's very simple and very straightforward. That's the part that's stunning about this. That's why there aren't any loopholes in it. It's too simple. Kind of fits the description of me. All right.
That's right.
Well, we started out with the Bronny James news.
Yeah.
Cardiac arrest, but he's stable and out of ICU.
Absolutely.
We went to the Barkley news. And we kind of moved all over the map in this one. Tomorrow, Phil Steele.
One of the very best.
Oh.
Love Phil Steele.
You know what the difference between Phil Steele is and everybody else that puts out the magazines? Is Phil works.
Yeah. One of the best. I love Phil.
He doesn't just do it to do it and how many starters back and the whole deal. Like, he's working and updating it all the time.
Yep. Agreed.
His website, for example, has David Braun as the interim head coach at Northwestern. Right? Now, the magazine goes to publication before that. So
there's nothing you can do about that.
Can't do anything about that. But he works at it 24/7, 365. So we'll have him on tomorrow. Neil Coulon. We'll talk about, not Barkley's sign, but we're going to talk to him about the predicament Barkley's in and the devaluation of running backs tomorrow.
That's a good point, too.
Spikes tonight, Christmas in July. It just screams you. Right. And tomorrow is the noon game, the Super Splash Day.
That's always a fun day out there.
See, that screams you as well.
That screams me. Always a fun day when it's the afternoon games.
Yeah, I remember.
Any reason to go have lunch at the ballpark and watch a baseball game, that works for me.
Yeah. Then they're back Friday, Saturday and Sunday as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then they go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So, yeah. All right. So, Big Ten Media Days tomorrow.
Yep.
ACC concluding today. And did you buy that shirt?
I think so. Yep.
Wow. Really looks terrific on you. Really does. I asked Kyle Leff before he came in. I said, I had to record video today.
Yeah.
So I said, should I keep the jacket on during the show? He says, opposite that? Yes.
There you go.
All right. Tell your guys over at Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe I said hi.
I'll tell you, they're working hard. They're working hard to figure out the next lawsuit they can win me, but that's all right. I'll let them know.
I would think with all the lawsuits you've won over the years with these guys, and they're not really above board, just so you know.
No,
that the cut of your clothes would be a little different.
They take a significant cut. Speaking of cuts, that's the hardest part of it all. I didn't read the 4-page contract I gave them.
You scare me. You really do. You back Thursday?
I am.
Oh.